Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Decided to burn this wood pile, and surprisingly it went up pretty quick. So I guess it was dry enough, even though we got all that water and rain and snow. It's still burned. So I thought we'll have a fireside chat about whatever we want to talk about. And I posted that video earlier about the Papua New Guinea Highlanders and the sweet potatoes, and how they eat a predominantly plant-based diet, you know, and the results of their overall health due to diet. And I just want to say that that's what convinced me to change my diet, is when that was pointed out to me. And so I always, most part, welcome, new information. I'm not completely closed-minded, and so I may get a little insensitive, maybe, and maybe my approach to presenting information may not be the best. So I have to work on my skills in that department, but I share the information because I care, and perhaps it may impact, if it impacts one person to improve health, then it was worth making the video for me, so that's why I share it. And it's changed my life. I feel better. I lost extra pounds that I was carrying around, and it just feels good for me personally, and is thinking about my future as well. I want to take care of myself, and my previous life, being in the military, I excelled in the military, and I got an education. I took advantage of the military's master's degree. I got a master's degree, bachelor's degree, and I don't want this camera to get cooked here, but I was thinking about my future family. I knew I wasn't married. I didn't have kids, but I thought that maybe I would one day. So I always thought, I need to better myself. I need to get an education. I didn't want to put all my tools, have all my, I didn't want to have, what's the called? I wanted more tools in the toolbox. Something to fall back on in case I lost a job. I would be able to, because I have additional training and education and abilities, I could then, without missing a beat, or at least I would hope, to be able to get another job and continue to take care of my family. So that was my mindset. That was the mindset all those years And of course, you know, having remained single, no children, as I talked about in my very first YouTube video, and how that just happened that way, it makes you wonder, you know, why I did all that. Why did I do all that? And it was almost as if I did it for nothing. And of course, it's not too late to still, you know, have a family and do all that. But I think that doing all of that is for young people. That's a young people's game, you know. And so I go back and forth, but at this point I think, man, I'll probably just end up staying single, but anything could change. Where am I going with that? Well, I guess, you know, I took care of myself and my future family by trying to be successful, being a provider, a protector. You know, that's what men were expected to be. You know, we're born and trained and bred to be the providers, the protectors, the pastors of the home. And so I think a lot of times men have to have that where they feel needed, you know, and useful. And I think that's what happens with a lot of guys when they retire. Their life was so wrapped up in their job, once they retired, they felt lost. And oftentimes, men will go back to work and doing something to feel useful again, where they're being engaged and a part of something, which is nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I even considered myself, after my travels, if I was like, all right, I did all my traveling, going back to some type of work or part-time work. I'm a pilot, helicopter pilot. I'm an airplane pilot, single engine, multi-engine airplane, instrument rated, commercial pilot, right? So there's all kinds of job opportunities out there for me if I'd like to go back and get back into aviation. And I think I would make a safe pilot, being older, and then following along with what's been going on with all these aviation accidents. And I watch the aviation YouTube channels, that go over aviation accidents, helicopter, airplane, and they discuss what happened, what was, you know, the probable cause of the aviation accident. And so I'm continuing to stay up to date on what's going on in aviation, keeping my head tuned and mind tuned to safety. Safety's paramount in aviation. And learning, you know, continuing to learn. And there's an expression, everybody's a student pilot. No matter how long they've been flying, everyone's a student pilot, meaning that we're always learning in aviation. And you could be doing everything right, like the DC recent crash where the Black Hawk collided with the regional jet. And that regional jet was doing what they were supposed to do, and was, you know, all lined up, you know, stabilized approach, and just moments away from landing, and then boom, a helicopter flies into you. So you could be doing everything right in aviation and not even be your fault. And it's just unfortunate. But you know, accidents happen. We have automobile accidents every day. We still get into our automobiles, and aviation is still a safe mode of travel statistically. And this is a hot fire. I could have brought my potatoes out here wrapped up in foil and baked them out here. They'd be done in a flash. But yeah, circling back around to taking care of ourselves. And we have to take care of ourselves in so many ways, and of other people. If you're if you have a family, so you're always in tune of caring for your family. And since I didn't have a family of my own, the military was my family, and I was able to devote a lot of time and energy to my job in the Army. And so I just was able to focus on that. And I knew people depended on me, and in different fashions. And so it gave me a reason to get up in the morning, a purpose, the military for me. And then, of course, flying the helicopter, being as safe as you can, because the customer, the people that flew in the back of our helicopters or whatever we were moving, equipment-wise, or medical evacuation, whatever we were doing, you want to make sure that you do it safe and everybody comes home. And I'm very proud of that. My 23 years of military service, nobody, at least in my particular unit that I served in, nobody was killed. Nobody was really seriously injured. And I think that maybe the only thing is maybe some feelings got hurt. We may have, broke a few things, lost a few pieces of equipment here and there. But, that stuff's replaceable. Human beings aren't. And so I consider that a success. And taking care of other people. And was able to finish my military career on a high note. And to also then have been my own health. I don't have PTSD, or didn't, get lose any limbs or anything like that. And so now I guess this is, as we, now continuing, what's going to be the purpose now? I think about that. I think that's one of the reasons why the YouTube channel started. I thought, well, we can share some information, and maybe it will be helpful, and just experiences, and it has been. I've had some great comments from y'all, how a lot of you can relate to me. I've got the emails from some of you saying, hey, I watched this particular video. I can definitely can understand where you're coming from. I'm the same way, Jim. That was really, it's nice to know that I'm not the only one who's going through that or thinks that way. And so, blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to send you that message, and I appreciate that. And so I think that's what that YouTube channel is about. And but I still struggle a little bit on a purpose again, because right now I'm not building anything, I'm not creating anything other than the YouTube. Traveling, I have done that and plan to do some more, and you know, so and to meet people, and open to those relationships with the opposite sex, and who knows where that may lead. Who knows where that may lead? You don't know. I don't know. And so, and then I may then just go back to doing something. Maybe going back to flying a machine and being part of that mix again. I don't know. I'm currently in the process of selling my home. I don't know if any of you guys, I think some of you knew that, but I have been selling my possessions little by little by little by little. So my house is being prepared for sale. So I've got everything off the walls. I plugged up the holes, touch up painting, that kind of thing. And I've sold some things off the selling apps, you know, and eBay. And so slowly stuff is starting to disappear. And I do have a buyer for the house. It's a young couple, and I'm excited that they're a young family. And I think, what do they got? It's 3 little ones, 2 little ones, and then they just had a newborn baby born a week ago. And they're hobby farmers. They have sheep and chickens and things like that at their parents' house. And so they have a vision for this property here. So I'm happy that it's going into good hands. Life will be brought back into it more so than what I can do to it. Kids are going to be running around here again. Dogs are going to be running around here again. Sheep and chickens and other animals that they have will be here, and they will grow their food. I know they have a small garden in their little house that they're in now. And so a growing family, and then they're, you know, the man who's buying it, his mom and dad live close by, so they'll be close by. So it's a perfect thing for them. And so it's going to be one of those sad situations, you know, having grown up here, and the memories here, and then to hand over the keys to the house to somebody else is going to be a bit of sadness, but at the same time, I'm happy that it is going to a family that can better utilize the property and bring life into it, like I said. And so that's what's going on right now. So when do they want to move in? April, May. So April, May, end of May is the plan to be out of the house. So April, May to be out of the house. And somebody asked me, you know, what's your next travel adventure? And I'm not quite 100% sure yet on where I'm going to go first. I don't know where I'm going to go first right now, but I will be essentially a homeless veteran. Full-time traveler, and it's kind of scary, you know. what you're, leaving the comfort of a home and adventuring off into the unknown. And I got to get the birds and the geese. Look at them, honking, honking. Yeah. And so so that's what's going on as we sit around here, as I walk around this fireside chat, as I continue to pick up these branches and move them around to burn. And so that's going to be part of the fun and the excitement, is the new journey and the uncertainty of leaving a home and not knowing exactly where you're going to end up. And so that's kind of a somewhat scary and exciting at the same time, to just I'm just basically a nomad. Basically a nomad, and just traveling, staying in places for a month, 2 months, 3 months perhaps, as long as my visa will allow. Move on to the next place. And continue to just travel and meet people and see where this goes. And a kind of a recalibration for myself, and start something new. And the way I look at it is that the selling of my home and of my possessions is the closing of a chapter. It's just closing the chapter, and leaving it at that, and the beginning of a new. Closing of a chapter and the beginning of a new. And the other thing I think about, you guys, is I'm single, as you know. And I also think about, well, if something ever happened to me, I don't want to put this house and all this stuff on my sister. She's older than me. She's got enough things to deal with her family. She's got older kids. So I got a nephew and 2 nieces, which I know them. I visited them a few times, but I'm not like extremely close to my nieces and nephews. I'm not that uncle. And maybe that stems from all those years in the military, that I was just not that uncle that was around. I was just not that uncle who was around, so I don't want to they wouldn't know heads or tails on what to get rid of, how to sell the place. So I just want to, while I'm still healthy enough to go ahead and close the chapter here and pass the baton to this young family. And eventually you have to do that anyway. Everything comes to an end. It comes to an end. Boy, that fire is nice and hot. That's a hot fire, y'all. And so, I wanted, downsize. And I was planning on, even if I wasn't planning on traveling, I was planning on downsizing anyway as a single guy. As I've said before, I don't need a lot. And I think for most men, we don't need a lot. For a lot of guys, they'd be happy living in a tent on the side of the road. Seriously, we don't need much to be happy. And I join that group of men who don't need a lot. I really don't. And And you can't really worry about so much what if. You know, I thought about, you know, yeah, if I kept this place, I could grow vegetables. You know, you could survive here when all crap, when everything goes to crap. But you know what? I'm not going to live my life fearing about what if, you know, if it's going to go to crap. If it goes to crap, you know what? We're all going to be in the same boat anyhow. And we're going to be fine. We'll survive. And we'll be just fine. That's my mentality. I can't worry about it. So I have to continue to get on with life and get on with it. And in some ways, it's kind of liberating and freeing to have less and to know that I don't have this house hanging over me. And I don't like to leave a house unattended. I really don't have anybody to look after the house when I'm gone, you know, especially in the wintertime, you know. And I went to Vietnam, and I didn't like the idea, you know, the house was, I took a chance and left the house unattended. You know, you got a furnace, you know, and all that going, and nobody's checking it. And if something went wrong in the house, there's nobody there to rectify it. But thankfully, when I came back from Vietnam, everything in the house was fine. The furnace was working just fine. I had the furnace serviced, so I knew it was in good operational order. But you don't know what's going to happen, you know. So, but it'd be nice to be able to travel and not have to worry about a home and somebody to look after it. So there's a few things that I will keep in storage. You know, there are things that, you know, you got your photo albums and mementos, and I have my military stuff and, you know, awards, decorations, and plaques and things that I still want to hold on to. I don't want to throw those away, you know, and perhaps if I did get married and had children, I would want my kids to at least have that, so they at least know what their dad did. So, you know, and then some even say having kids late may not be fair to the kids, because, you know, I meet somebody now, I'm 52. Gosh, I can't even remember my own age. 52. And, you know, by the time I meet somebody and vet them, how old am I going to be? You know, 53, 54, 55, 55, 60, 65, 75. By the time they're 20, I'll be in my 70s when they're 20 years old. You know? I don't know. But in case it does, I want at least to have some things so that they could at least know who I was and what I did. And it would go to them. And so, and that's pretty much it. And then everything else will be sold. My vehicle, everything will be absolutely liquidated and gotten rid of, either sold or donated. And so that's what we're doing, guys. So it's pretty exciting. So it's I won't be traveling until this summer. So I may do some traveling in the United States first, because I want to do a trip out west. And go see that first. Go hit Vegas and the Hoover Dams and all that kind of thing out there. And take the truck, and I plan on camping out. Maybe staying in some hotels here and there. But pretty much camping, as long as it's fairly nice, you know. I've got all my camping gear. I've got a tent, all my military gear for outdoors. I still have all that stuff to be able to sleep outdoors. I could camp out under the stars, man. And that's what I'd like to go do. Go out west under the stars, cowboy style. I'll put the camera up and maybe have another fire and have another fireside chat and who knows where, South Dakota or Wyoming or somewhere, Montana, I don't know. And go and get that knocked out, and then sell that truck, call an Uber, and get on the plane. And so there's some preparation going on. Well, Jim, what are you going to do about your mail? Well, you can have a digital mailbox now, anytime mailbox. And you can have an address and have your mail sent to that. And it's fairly inexpensive per month. And it's for expats, so I'll be able to still get my mail. Taxes, everything's digital now. I'll still be a resident of Ohio, and I did my taxes completely digital online. I do my taxes myself. So as long as I have an internet connection, I can still do taxes. And I'll have my phone, and I'll have to figure out how to do the data plans wherever I'm at, and finagle that, and which is fine. We'll figure that out. And then eventually, once I find the place that I like to stay and say, you know what, I'd like to live here for a while, and make it home. What country that will be, I don't know at this point. I could very well end up right back in Vietnam, living in Da Nang, in an apartment. Or I could be living in Cambodia. I might be living in, who knows, somewhere in Central South America. It may be in Europe. I may end up liking something in Romania or Belarus. Who knows? I might like a place and stay there. Or being a pilot, maybe I can get the best of both worlds, where I'm living abroad and then flying as a pilot somewhere. So who knows? So that's something I'm investigating. So it's pretty exciting. And the only way that I'm going to get there, this is for me, is to close this chapter here and make myself uncomfortable and get at it. That's the way to do it. You have to jump in. And I know I have I've got my safety nets. I'm not gonna be going hungry. I'm military retired. I have a pension. I'm gonna be fine. And so I'm always gonna have something to eat. I'm always gonna have some type of shelter and clothing. So as long as my basic needs are met, I'm gonna be fine. And just kind of go with it, roll with it, and do something kind of crazy and get out of that comfort zone. And of course, being a single man, I have that ability. A married man can't do what I'm doing. And so I have that flexibility and that ability to be able to just say, I'm going to sell everything and go be a full-time traveler. And it is kind of crazy, but I think it's going to be good for me, and to like I said, get uncomfortable again, be a beginner again, and make those new memories. Yes, there's memories here, but sometimes the memories sadden me because my mom's not here no more, my father's gone. My grandparents are gone. The pets that we had, they're gone. And I think about them quite a bit by living here. And I get kind of sad. And I think by getting away from here, I won't so much be wallowing and thinking about those things so much anymore. And I think that'll be good for me. And just close this here. And so that's where I'm at, people. And as we sit around the fire here, and something else I wanted to talk about too is, do you guys sometimes feel like you don't belong on this planet? Do you like feel out of place? Sometimes I feel that way, you know, because sometimes you have knowledge that some people don't have, and because you think you see things, you know things that other people don't, you see the world in a different way. And in some circles, it's called red pill. You're red-pilled from that movie, The Matrix, the blue pill or the red pill. And of course, the red pill is the truth and seeing things for what they are. And I'm always getting new knowledge, so things do change. I'm not completely closed-minded. You know what I mean? And so, but at this particular moment in time, I have the information that I have. And so I see the world differently. I see the corruption. I see how things like society works in the entertainment industry and sports, and how it's so hyped up. And, you know, all the entertainment, we're amusing ourselves, as Neil Postman said in his book, amusing ourselves to death. And so you see things like that, and you don't participate in it. Or when it comes to things like Christmas and the commercialization of it and the money that's being made with these holidays. And you're one who can see it for what it is. And some people don't see it like that. It's all festive for them. They just get all excited about Christmas and putting up their decorations, and they go through, they love the after Thanksgiving, what do they call that? Black Friday after Thanksgiving. They love to fight the crowds and get those deals and buy gifts for people. Whereas I'm the opposite of that. Why? Because I see it as a big commercial moneymaker, something man-made. And I have decided that I don't want to follow along the prescribed societal so-called norms. And so that's just an example of it. Or when you educate yourself and you can see how the medical field works and how it's sick care. You know, but we don't really do much for prevention. We're just managing the symptoms and the ailments after the fact. And you're enlightened. You see things for what it is. And it kind of gives you an attitude, or you seem critical, or what's the other word? You kind of, I don't want to say bitter, but you just see things differently. And the older I get, I used to think my grandfather and father were negative all the time. I'm like, man, why are they so critical or negative about certain things? But now that I'm getting older, I understand why my father and grandfather spoke the way that they did. I used to think that they were crazy, but now the older I get, the more I realize how much they were right. And I sometimes will speak to them, it may sound silly, and I'll just kind of look up and say, well, Dad, you were right again. Grandpa, you were right again. And how right they were on so many things. And, but I see it now. I see it now, and I see things, your eyes are opened. Whereas I think it's even sometimes I've heard it, I wouldn't say that I'm one of these, they call them chosen ones, the spiritually awakened people. I don't know if I'm one of those, but I'm definitely awakened and getting more awakened each and every day. Getting awakened each and every day as I really start to see the real world. And it makes you feel like, and I've said it a few times, I don't belong in this world. I don't belong here. And even in the Christian circles, you'll hear that. if you're a Christian believer, Christians believe that they're sojourners, just passing through this life, that this isn't their home, but when they die, they're going to be absent from their body, present with the Lord. And so they often will say, I don't belong here, so they don't really hold on to much of the earth. And so, but I think that could apply to all of us. We are just passing through, and we're all going to end up in the same size grave, or unless you get cremated. So we came into this world with nothing, and we're going to leave with nothing. You know what I mean? And so you can't really hold on to much very tightly, you know. And at the end of the day, and that's the way I look at my house, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. It's just stuff. It's just a home, you know. It's just a house, I should say. It's no longer a home. You know, it's just all the people are gone, all the animals are gone. The only animal in there is me. So it's just a house. And so I don't get attached to it. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. And so, but I'll keep you posted on the last day as I leave the home and get in my truck and move off into the next journey, as this journey is coming to a close here. And but I do know this: I want to live as an expat now. As of right now, I want to live abroad for a while. Will I return to the U.S.? Maybe, maybe not. But I'd like to venture out. And I can say that I'm getting tired of a lot of the stuff in the U.S., as a lot of people are. You know, the politics, the divide, as I've mentioned before. I'm just sick of it, to be honest with you. And the high cost of living, you know. And when there are places that are affordable, but things are changing. Inflation is traveling around the world. So anything could happen where I may end up, where things get so bad living abroad, that I may end up have to return to the United States and go live somewhere else, which is fine. Which is fine. Which is absolutely fine. And that's part of the flexibility of what I'm getting ready to do. So I can't tell you definitively too much, you know, exactly what the plan is. It's kind of an open plan. And that's the fun and the excitement of it, you know? But yeah, sometimes I feel like, man, the older I get, the more information I get, the more distant I feel from people. And you'll see some videos now, there's quite a few of them. They'll say, oh, I'm 50 years old and I avoid people, or I'm 60 years old and I avoid people. And then you read the comments. So there's a lot of people out there, and older adults, 50 and older, who pretty much stay to themselves now. They don't have really that many friends. They may just have a couple people that they talk to. You know, they're divorced or they're widowed. Kids are grown. And they stay to themselves, and they like their peace at home. And I can so get that. And being on your own can be very addicting. It's very, very addicting when you live this way. And the thing about being on your own is you don't have the drama. And when you're dealing with people, what are you dealing with? You're inviting drama into your life. And less people, guess what? Less drama and more peace. And you've got people that have their dog. Maybe one day I'll get a dog, but I'm not ready for a dog yet, even though I do enjoy animals. I miss having a dog. They're great companions and can be so funny. They'll make you laugh, and they love you, you know. And if you're away from them and you come back, it's as if you've been gone for years, and they're always so happy to see you. And I think it's one of the few unconditional loves that we have in this world is pets, or definitely a dog. And they're so appreciative. If you take them out for a walk, you take them to a park, it's like the first time they've been to that park. Oh boy, and they get all excited as you're driving up to the park. You know, that's dogs for you. And they don't care whether you look like or smell funny or what your past is. They will love you just the same. So one day, I think as I get to be an older gentleman, and if I'm still that single man, I'll be that old man and his dog with very few friends, just enjoying my twilight years on his own and in peace. And so but yeah, that's that, you know. That's where we are. And so right now I just get up day by day. I get rid of stuff, going through the house, sorting through things, you know. And I sold some books. It was kind of hard to let go of some of my books, but I let go of them. You can sell books online. There's an app, and they actually pay you decent money per book. Yeah. And then you put them in a box and ship them off. They pay for the shipping, and then they pay you through your PayPal or however you want to get paid. So, but yeah, I sold some books, and some of them I want to hold on to, and I'll just put those in storage, you know. And so that's what that's the focus now. And try to stay as fit as I can, still jogging and whatnot. I need to get back to the swimming pool, hit that pool again, and continue that on. I need to make some time for that. But I think once we get all this house sale done, we can get to a point to where I can then focus more on my fitness and swimming and running and that kind of thing. But still doing it. Still pushing, still, you know, trying to keep the body moving and trying to eat right as best as I can. I'm not perfect in that, y'all, when it comes to diet, but I try, you know, and get better little by little as I continue to tweak it. And changing the palate, you know, takes time. So it's been going on 2 years now that I've been whole foods plant-based, but yeah, there's still some things there that, you know, you still crave, you know. And so it takes time to change your mindset when it comes to food and the things that you grew up enjoying and liking, and then knowing now that it's really not all that good for you. But what else? As we sit around the fire, I wish I could get some more feedback from you guys, but it's kind of a one-way conversation here with me. But I guess this is kind of therapeutic, just being able to talk and share what's on my mind. But yeah, feeling like you don't belong, you know, because you see things differently now. And you feel more distant. And of course, you don't want to be judgmental, you know, of people, but I just, you know, you're talking to people and you just nod and okay, and try to understand things from where they're coming from. And then I remind myself that I was once like them. I used to have a mindset like them. And but now, you know, you change, you evolve. We all changed in time. And so we change. I've changed. And probably surprise a lot of people how much I've changed. It is what it is. And there are certain things I'll miss, you know, being here, you know, things like this, having the land here, and, you know, and the trees and all of that. But there's more land and trees in other places too, you know. And like I said, I'm just happy that somebody's going to use it, you know. And I mean, if it was a different time, man, this would be a great place to still, if I found a younger gal and wanted to be married and have a family here, we could have a good life here. My gosh, we could do a lot here. But I would never marry in the United States. That's a hard, hard pass. That will never happen. The way the marriage laws are and the family court system and how that operates, there's absolutely no way on God's green earth I would ever, ever get married in the United States. It ain't happening here. No, it's a different time. It's a different time. The 50s are gone. Those days are gone, and some of that traditional stuff is gone. And if I want traditional, I need to go somewhere else, and that's a fact. Times are changing, and we're seeing that too, more and more each and every day, as this whole definition of marriage is changing, and people are getting out of it, or they're not doing it. And divorces continue each and every day. Now, of course, people are getting married quite regularly too, and all the best to them. But the statistics just aren't good, and I'm not signing up for it here in the U.S. If I ever did sign up for it, it will be overseas. And I think that's a part of the reason, another reason why I'm traveling, is keeping that option open, you know, of a long-term relationship. And I would much rather have it with a foreign, non-Western woman. Preferred, if I'm going to roll the dice on this one. So just letting you know, I know it sounds kind of bad for some of y'all, and it's like, you know, but it's the truth. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks this way, as a lot of men have now decided to go find wives and do relationships abroad, and saying the heck with it here in the United States with all the feminism and everything. It is what it is. And I've even had women tell me, Jim, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'm concerned for my own son, she said. You know, and what does he have in store if he's going to be able to find a wife? And the way our culture and society is, and it's just, we have just taken a deep dive down the pit of something not good, and we're seeing it each and every day. So that's another reason to leave for me. Cost of living, relationships, culture, seeing something new. So there's a whole laundry list of why I've decided to just close up shop here and get on a plane and go. So yeah. And develop some new relationships, make some new friends, and finish up this second or third half or whatever, if I'm in the second half or if I'm in the third quarter of my life. Enjoy this next quarter of my life. Statistically, yes, I've got more life behind me than I do ahead of me. And I'm retired. You know, I did well for myself. Retired U.S. Army. And so it's like, you know, I want to enjoy now. I've sacrificed. I worked hard. I don't want to really lock myself down right now. And if you know, and so, and that's probably why, you know, oftentimes I think I'll probably never get married and have a family. I'll have a long-term relationship, but I don't think I'm going to have kids. Because why? Now you're locked down. Now you're strapped down. Now you've got new responsibilities, you know, that you should have had when you were in your 20s, not when you're in your 50s. Even though, yes, physically I can do it. We can do it as men. And there are women out there lining up that would have my kids. But just because it's possible, do you really want to? And then now you're locked in, locked down, and where right now I still want to see and do and go experience and just enjoy, you know, early retirement. You know, that's where I'm at. It's like, you know what, go enjoy. I busted my butt. I've sacrificed. I put in, you don't know, folks, you have no idea how much time I devoted to the U.S. Army. And too much time, even extra time, my own time, even sacrificed my vacation time for the Army. And I would work consistently 12 or more hour days. Consistently. So I laugh when people say, oh, I work 3 12s. That would be a cake job to me if I only worked 3 12s. I think what nurses work that kind of schedule. Oh yeah, I work 3 12s. Wow. That would be cake. How about working 5 12s? How about working 5 13s, 14s, 15s? Working weekends, on call. Yes. And I think that's why there's a small few of a very small percentage of the population that did 20 or more plus years in the military and are military retirees. We're a small group of people. Most people do a few years and whatnot, and then they get out. So you have to have a high tolerance, as one guy said, for BS. It's like, man, you got to have a high tolerance for BS. I could only do a couple years and I had to get out. And it's, you know, and maybe there is something to that. And, but yeah, my ignorance was bliss all those years, folks. I really thought, boy, I was doing something and protecting the world and all of that. And then, a few years ago, reading the book by General Smedley Butler, War is a Racket, and my eyes finally opened to where now I see that war is a racket and that this whole thing is a big business, and I was a big part of it, you know. And then we're fighting and spending a lot of time and treasure and talent and all of this, and our men and women in uniform in places like Afghanistan and Iraq and dying over there and getting wounded and maimed over there, you know. And then you have to ask yourself, for what? You know, Vietnam revisited all over again. But now I see, but I didn't see it then. And so I would get up in the morning, hoorah, roger that, Sergeant, 3 bags full. Soldier, that was me. Locked, cocked, ready to rock. Roger that, Sergeant. You know, they would say all you had to do with Jim, just wind Jim up, point him in the direction you want him to go, and let Jim go. And I took pride in that I was a guy that could get things done. You gave me a task, boom. I was laser focused and got it done. There was none of this bebopping around, playing grab ass. That's one of my biggest frustrations. Some of the guys just wanted to goof off and play around, and I'm like, come on. You know, time is of the essence. we're on the clock. The soonest we can get this job done, the sooner we can go home, you know? And they wanted to bebop around and play around, and no sense of urgency, some of them. But I was one that, man, we got a job to do. Man, let's get it done. Let's get it done. And oftentimes I would work right through lunch just to get something done, you know? So I'm very focused and diligent in whatever a task at hand. And so right now I feel a little bit lost. And I will admit that. I feel a little lost because right now I don't have that task. I don't really have that. What's getting me up in the morning other than cleaning out a house and getting ready to go travel and do things like that. So just a bit of warning to those who are still working. Realize that when you retire, you might find yourself in a position to where, you know, you've lost some of your purpose. But hopefully here soon I can fill that void with traveling and experience some new experiences, which then may lead to a new purpose for me and give me a new reason, give me a new why. What's going to keep me up, get me up in the morning, keep me up late at night, you know? So it's time to start looking at that, and what can I build and what can I create and get back into something. And even if that means circling back around into aviation and being a jet pilot, you know, and I would be a damn good airline captain, one of the safest around, you know, and being very methodical. I'm very diligent, follow that checklist, takeoff and landings, head on a swivel, and believe you me, I will be doing the best that I can to make sure that I get that airplane from point A to point B and back in a safe manner. Absolutely, man. And staying calm under pressure. If something bad happens, you lose an engine, you just handle the emergency. And I'm pretty good at that. I can pretty much stay calm in a emergency situation, and I have been in a few of them in the Army. And I didn't freak out. I'm not one to freak out. And so for some reason I have that ability when things start to go goofy. I have this sense where I can just calm myself down and deal with the task at hand. And also, being a leader in the military, I always thought that it was important that you as the leader stay calm, don't freak out, because your subordinates are watching you. And so there were some situations in the helicopter, pilot in command at the time, and had to handle some situations in that helicopter, and kept my calm, and we got through it. We got through it and were able to land safely. So that was something I would think about too, is you got people watching you, so you don't want to be someone who's freaking out. Anyhow, that's that. Just random conversation, random one-way here talk as I'm burning here this brush pile as it's dwindling down little by little here. Chilly night. Tomorrow's supposed to be in the 50s. Unbelievable, yeah. And but up and down this time of year. Hot, cold, or warm, cold. One day you got rain, thunderstorms one day, snow the next. I think Wednesday we're supposed to have thunderstorms, you know, craziness. But yeah, that's that. Just giving you some more information there, what the plans are for the 2025 and what I've got going on and where I'm coming from. I think sometimes people look at me and think, man, you're so angry. I wouldn't say so much I get angry. It's more being frustrated. I get very frustrated because I'm thinking other things that you don't realize that I'm thinking about. And I just find it frustrating, you know, when I'm sharing information, because my frustration is that I wish more people knew. You know, you'll often hear, well, why didn't anybody tell me? You know, there's people that wish they would have taken better care of themselves, or they didn't realize that certain things were unhealthy. Well, why didn't anybody tell me? Well, it's too late, and they've got cancers and this and that, and they just wished they would have known some information. And so I get frustrated like that, or I get frustrated realizing how much we've been lied to in so many things, or we've been bamboozled and fooled, and the scammers and the manipulation that we've got going now. Boy, it makes you angry. That people are getting scammed out of things, and these insurance companies and people who've been paying their premiums like clockwork every year, and then when something happens, whether it's a homeowners or something happens at a home or an automobile, now the insurance doesn't want to pay. You know, stuff like that. That'll frustrate you. And so that's how come I get frustrated. And I believe there's a time to be angry. There's something called righteous indignation, that there are some things where, yes, we should be getting angry over some things. And, but yeah, I think most of the time I just get frustrated. All the way around, I get frustrated. And when you see life the way that it is, and you have to just, what I've learned is you have to accept life for what it is. You can't change it, you know. You just have to accept it for what it is. And like it or not, it's what it is. You know, we pay taxes, we do this, we work, we pay bills, day in and day out, and then we die, you know. And you try, and in between that, womb to tomb is what I heard. Womb to tomb. And what you do in between, you know. And try to, I guess, enjoy as much as you can and have those memories. And in the meantime, womb to tomb. And but anyhow, I'll let this thing go. I'm going to continue to mess around with this fire a little bit. Maybe I'll even sit in my chair here a little bit, maybe do some more thinking, and head back on in the house. So I hope this finds you well. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, I know it was a long one. So I post them realizing that some people don't want to listen to a long video. And I understand that. Sometimes I don't like listening to long videos, but I guess this is mostly, I guess, for, well, partially for posterity, just to record something. So these videos will be around after I'm gone, maybe. And then maybe 100 years from now, somebody will be watching this video. I don't know. The video archives, YouTube archives 150 years from now, listening to people talk about the topics of the day. And the fall of Rome, the way I see it, a lot of similarities to what we've got going now in our world, in the Western world, and the fall of Rome. And I believe that's where we are. Society, in many ways, is collapsing. It is. It's really sad what's happening. Really, really sad what's happening. And it's definitely very, very concerning. And some say, oh, I wish an asteroid would hit and just take us all out and just start from scratch. Well, that would make it easier now. We wouldn't have to worry about anything anymore. And I hope it's quick if it ever happens. Can you imagine a big old asteroid? Boom! And we see a flash of light, and that's it for planet Earth. And it's just nothing but just a terrestrial ball with no life. Yep. Start over. Do over. you know, because I tell you, humanity, oh my gosh, humanity, terrible. You know, what humanity can do to each other, and the brutality and the evil and the war and the killing and it's just so sad when you take a step back and you think about it, you know? Truly sad. Ugh. And then the lack of trust. Who can you trust anymore? That's a big one. And some people wonder why some people are standoffish and keep people at an arm's length. I'm kind of that way. I like people, but at the same time, it's like I keep a distance from people. I keep people at his arm's length because you don't know what the heck their motives are. What do they want? You know? And, you know, it's like, can you... it takes a lot for me to trust somebody. You've got to vet people. You've got to know who they are. Because oftentimes, people are after something. They want something. It's always about themselves, you know, and how they can best benefit from a relationship with you, you know. I could be wrong, but I think sometimes that's the case. So I think sometimes it's hard to trust people. Who can you trust anymore when it's been so many times violated? You know, and even in families now, man, when you can't trust your own family or trust your local governments, things like that, it's like, who can you trust? And you can't trust them. You can't trust a lot of these institutions. You can't trust a lot of these organizations, you know. And then you find out in these reports that you find out, and the deception that's going on, and the scams that are going on, and the backdoor dealings, and it's just like, gosh dang. You know, and it's just when you think you can trust somebody or trust an institution or organization, you find out there's some kind of a corruption or scandal going on in there. And it just makes you shake your head. It's like, you know. And then we wonder why people are staying to themselves and becoming recluses and keeping a arm's length to things, because you just keep seeing all this stuff, you know. And they have a few people, they do their thing, they live their life, they got their dog, and they're just enjoying their life the best that they can until the lights go out, until curtain call, you know, and that's it. And I just think some of that's just a bit sad. And so I hope that I can have some restoration in humanity on my travels. And, you know, go somewhere where there's still a sense of community. And I see that in places like Italy and Europe, you know, and, you know, people are more neighborly, you know, community meals. They take their time. You know, here in America, my gosh, we're always working our butts off. We're busy. And yet you've got these other countries that they give their people more time off, more maternity leave, and take care of their employees. And yet they're just as productive or more so than we are. You know? And it's like we have just done something wrong here as we just run people ragged to the ground, using and abusing people, doing more with less. And then, of course, you know, the education system. What a mess that is. And you keep hearing the bickering with our education and teaching our kids. And some people are now homeschooling. I can just keep going on and on and on where we are. And it just seems like it's just not the way it used to be. And some people say there was a simpler time. Then another person will say, well, there never was a simpler time. But I can tell you one thing, I sure as heck miss the days before the internet. I sure miss the days before all these iPhones and social media. Boy, I miss that. If I can go back into the 80s or early 90s, oh my goodness gracious. Oh. And I watch those YouTube videos of high school in the late 80s and early 90s, and it just warms my heart seeing those, graduation class of 1990, 91, 92, 93, and not a cell phone in sight. And you look at the kids and the smiles on their face, not a cell phone anywhere. People are more fun and talking to each other, and there seemed to be some sense of innocence there, Oh, I can get lost in watching those videos of that bygone era, and then look at us now and how we're so split, and dating's just terrible, and meeting people now and pairing up, and people aren't doing things together like they used to, and everything's online and computers and chats and Facebook and Instagrams and all this and that. It's just like, what in the world, man? And it just has just become a big mess, anyhow, I'll I said I was gonna get off here, but I still have things to say, still talking and lamenting, as I'm sure many of you who are listening to me can relate to it. And I can hear you now. You got that right, Jim. Send me back. If I can go back in time. That was a good time, man. We're in the 70s, late 70s. And we weren't so heavy back then. We weren't covered in tattoos and pig snout bullnose rings. There might have been some of that here and there, but not the prevalence we have now. And you'll hear the men say, well, yeah, ladies were ladies, and the men were men, as the women would say, and they were more masculine back then, and they'd actually ask a girl out and plan a date. Man, where are those men at, they would say. And where are the ladies that can cook, as the men would say, and who were taught to manage a home. And then you hear these guys, and these girls today, these ladies today, boy, they're useless. What the hell does she offer me? She don't offer much. And then you got the women themselves even admitting, yeah, I can't offer much to a man. And I think that's so sad. And I think we're better together than apart. And yet, the sexes are divided. And we're out of our roles, We're supposed to be complimenting one another, not be at each other. And in theory, pairing up with somebody of the opposite sex sounds like a wonderful thing to me. Getting married, having a family, having that person there that you could do things with and, help each other out, do this thing called life together, and that only you two know about, and that intimacy that you two have, and there's a friendship there, you're lovers, you get to enjoy that aspect of it, and it's I look at it as, gosh, I can see that being a wonderful thing, but yet the reality is saying something different, at least for 50%. And there's another bubble being burst. It's like, it sounds like it would be a wonderful thing. And it's not for a lot of people. And that makes you sad. It makes you sad. Once again, you know, you have to accept the world for what it is and not what you wish it was. And that's another thing. You know, it's like, how sad. And worked so hard and prepared and would get up in the morning, all those years in the military, 19 years old, joined the military, and that was the carrot dangling in front of me. My future family, my wife, my kids. Even the vehicle I bought, I always had it big enough to where I could put the car seats for the babies in there. And it's just crazy, you know. Even in my kitchen, the handle on the stove, I make sure that the handle is turned in and not hanging over the stove so that the kids can't grab the frying pan and pull the pan down. Isn't that crazy that my mind is still tailored and wired for family? Still wired that way. Still wired that way. And that was the carrot that dangled in front of me. That was the carrot. And never did get that carrot. You know? And I did that all those years. That was the carrot. Yep. And never just, out of reach. That carrot was out of reach, buddy. And then you get to this age and then it makes you wonder, dang, what the hell did I do all that for? You know? All for me. You know? And it's just, it just doesn't seem right. It don't seem right. And I have nobody to pass anything on to. Other than my nephews and nieces, who I'm not close to. But it would sure as heck be a lot better to be able to pass something on to my own direct family, you know, instead of a nephew and nieces, you know. And, but you understand what I'm saying. So, and I think a lot of single guys can relate to that is, you know, you're alone. You know, and there's a lot of us out there that never got married and done well for ourselves, but nobody to pass on our hard work to. You know? And so, yeah, this house is getting passed on to a young family. I guess I'm glad that's going to that family. But, you know, and so now I've got less possessions, so don't really have to pass too much on anyway. But yeah, you know, you think about that stuff. I have nobody to pass anything on to. You know? And you work to get where you're at, and it just seems like you were just chasing something, you know, that just never was. Or perhaps was something not exactly worth pursuing because of the modern era. The 1950s, it may have been worth pursuing, but in the 60s, something changed. And I think we've gone downhill ever since. And boy, are we seeing it. The chicken, what do they say? The rooster or the chicken has come home to roost. And it has. And we see the mess that we're in today. And yeah, many topics, many topics I could talk about. It's gone long enough. Take care. I'll see you guys on the next one.